eating breakfast boosts metabolism and makes you eat less throughout the day, so it's an important tool for weight loss.
That's what they tell you. Though, is it backed by science? Or could eating breakfast actually cause us to eat more overall and be a bad strategy for weight loss? Let's take a look. Hi, I'm Ingunn, a Norwegian Viking living in Canada. I'm here every week to share the no BS truth about weight loss, fitness, and healthy lifestyle. It's based on science, though made super simple. So what about breakfast? Is it good for weight loss or not? A lot of people will tell you that it's very important to eat breakfast, especially if you're trying to lose weight, because if you skip breakfast, it will slow your metabolism so that you burn less of your fat, and it can also make us eat more throughout the day. But there does not seem to be any real evidence of this. Now, a lot of the claims that we see in the media when it comes to nutrition and weight loss are based on studies that are so-called observational studies. These studies cannot prove anything. However, the way the media puts it makes it seem like there is proof, because they even mention that there is a scientific study behind this, so it sounds legit. However, these type of studies can't actually prove that something caused another thing to happen. However, on the other side, you have something called interventional studies, where you actually test your hypothesis. So you can take, for instance, two groups of people where one eats breakfast every day for, let's say, 6 months, and the other group does not. I'm not going to go into detail about how these type of studies work. However, it is very important to be critical of what we see in the media, because it may simply be based on studies that don't actually prove anything. Now, talking about studies, one article reviewed a bunch of different studies of the interventional type, like one specific type of interventional studies, to see the impact of eating breakfast, and in particularly how it affected the people's weight and energy intake as well. Now, very interestingly, what they found when reviewing all these studies was that modification of diets to include consumption of breakfast might not be a good strategy for weight loss, regardless of established breakfast habit. And they also said that modifying diets to include breakfast consumption was associated with an increase in total daily calories. Or, as they said in a different way, caution is needed when recommending breakfast for weight loss in adults, as it could have the opposite effect. Meaning, what they're saying here is that we really should be cautious about recommending to eat breakfast to people who want to lose weight, because if you do eat breakfast, it could actually make you gain weight instead. You may increase the number of calories that you eat throughout the day by eating breakfast. Now, they did mention that the studies that they had reviewed were not the best studies, so it wasn't very strong evidence. However, it really does show that there doesn't seem to be any actual evidence that eating breakfast is good for weight loss. And when it comes to metabolic rate, 4 of those studies that they were looking at looked at metabolic rate and did not find a significant difference between the two groups, meaning between the group eating breakfast and the one did not eat breakfast. So there doesn't really seem to be any real evidence that skipping breakfast makes your metabolism slow down so that you burn less energy. And it also doesn't seem to be the case that if you skip breakfast, you'll eat more throughout the day, rather the opposite. Which, of course, if you're trying to lose weight, is something to keep in mind, possibly a strategy to help you eat less. Actually, you might have heard of intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is a way to limit the amount of time that you eat. So it can either be by even fasting for 24 hours if you want, or by just limiting the window of time throughout the day that you eat. So one way of doing that is by skipping breakfast. intermittent fasting has been used quite a bit in the recent years for weight loss specifically. There are different methods of doing intermittent fasting, and there are other possible health benefits as well, though that's a topic for a different video. Actually, since we're talking about breakfast here, have you noticed that breakfast, the word breakfast, is a combination of the word break and fast? Everyone fasts every single day because when we're not eating, we're basically fasting. However, we decide when we eat breakfast. You can eat breakfast at 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. or maybe even at noon, which would most likely be called lunch, of course. However, it's in a way still breakfast because it's the meal that you use to break the fast. Now, skipping breakfast is not for everyone. So if you still want to eat breakfast and lose weight, I mean breakfast as in eating breakfast at a normal breakfast hours, and you still want to lose weight, then you might be wondering what to eat. What's the best thing you can eat in this case? Well, I'm going to give you some tips on breakfast do's and don'ts now. First though, remember to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications to be notified when my next video comes out with lots more no BS truth about weight loss, fitness and healthy lifestyle. And also make sure to follow me on Instagram at Viking Ingun. Now, these breakfast do's and don'ts that I'm going to show you now are just my opinion. It's based on research as well. So it's just my opinion. You need to, of course, do what works best for you. And remember, this is also based on the goal of actually losing weight as well. So the don'ts would be to eat processed foods. For instance, cereal and bread, which are, of course, very common when it comes to breakfast. Actually, I make a bread that's flourless, so bread, it's not really bread, though I use it that way. So, that's perfect for this case. Don't add sugar to coffee or tea in the morning. Don't eat a lot of fruit or drink fruit juice. Even though fruit is a natural source of sugar, it's not necessarily a good thing to eat a lot of it. This is something that, again, we're often told these things that we should eat a lot of fruit. However, the conventional advice is not necessarily always the best advice. So keep in mind, of course, fruit can be healthy, though not necessarily in large amounts, especially if you're trying to lose weight. All of the don'ts that we just talked about can really contribute to raising our blood sugar levels. This can make us be more hungry sooner, especially also because these types of foods are usually nutrient poor. They don't contain a lot of other nutrients. It's mostly energy that we get through these foods. Of course, some foods such as cereal might be fortified with extra added nutrients. Though, let's be real, those type of nutrients, like supplements, will never ever compare with real whole food nutrients. Now, for the do's, things to do, I'm actually going to say just one thing, and that is to eat foods that are high in protein and in general nutrient dense. Usually foods that are high in protein are often also nutrient dense in general. Foods that are high in protein can be very satiating, so it can be a lot easier to eat fewer calories and still be full, still feel like you ate a good amount of food. And because it's so nutritious, it may even make us feel full for longer, so that we don't necessarily crave lunch right away or an hour before it's time, or an overeat on lunch. Now, I know that a lot of the things that I say may be a bit more unconventional, though what we're usually told when it comes to weight loss and nutrition may really not give us the best results. And that is why I'm here to give you the no BS truth about weight loss, fitness and healthy lifestyle. Now, if you haven't already, I think it's time for you to download my free guide called 3 Reasons People Fail at Dieting. And it's not because of lack of exercise or commitment. This guide will show you some of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to weight loss, which is often based on conventional advice. and how it's possible to avoid these common mistakes and instead lose weight naturally without suffering. And yes, it is possible to eat until you're full and still lose weight. The guide is free, so go download it now at vikingingun.com. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, then give it a thumbs up and share it. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.